Hello everybody, this is B. Harper from supermusty.com and I'm here to tell you something. I like Terminator Salvation. What the fuck? Anyway, I am here to tell you that I like Terminator Salvation. Alright, so we all know that this movie has somewhat of a notorious reputation, and for good reason. It had a troubled production, and quite frankly, nobody wanted to be in this movie. Well, nobody from the previous films wanted to be in this movie. Not even Arnold Schwarzenegger wanted to come back because he felt that the script was terrible. And, quite frankly, I can't blame him. Terminator Salvation isn't necessarily what you would call an optimal type of sequel. And once again, that's not because James Cameron didn't direct it. It's simply because it just doesn't measure up to par with the first two films. And after the still admittedly warm reception of Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, people were expecting the story to go further. And the fact that some guy called McG was going to direct a Terminator movie, which also meant it was probably gonna be another PG-13 film. Now, I want to say this off the bat. I have no problem with the PG-13 rating, and those of you who do, just on the context there's PG-13, please wake the hell up and smell the coffee. It's not a bad thing. So in saying that, how on earth was somebody going to make an action-packed Terminator film without these types of elements? Because Terminator movies are inherently violent. They are, as James Cameron called it in regards to his own Terminator movies, violent movies about peace. So in saying that, how on earth was McG, who had previously had experience in the Charlie's Angels movie as well as directing video clips, was going to do this? Well, the fact of the matter is, McG has a really good eye for detail. He knows how to create worlds, and in this case, his version of a post-apocalyptic Los Angeles after the nuclear war or Holocaust of Judgment Day looks spectacular. The dull, the drawn-out, sort of oversaturated appearance of a world that has died and violently looks fantastic. And the sets and everything, they look really, really good. This place looks like a world gone to hell, right? And, I don't care if you'll want to play that infamous tirade by Christian Bale as I say this, but Terminator Salvation actually has something new to offer. Not just in terms of visuals, but in terms of story. Well, a little more on that later. But just going back to the positives about this movie, there is a sense of progression here. Judgment Day has happened and humanity has been plunged into, fighting for its survival, and it's about halfway through the war before that definitive victory that the humans had over Skynet. And this is around the time that John Connor is working his way up through the ranks. He's not the legendary general that he would come to be, but he's not the greenhorn soldier that, that originally saw Judgment Day happen. Well, not when I say saw, I mean in a bomb-proof shelter, but you know what I mean. And that is how the biggest draw card about this movie was the fact that Christian Bale was playing John Connor. Originally, John Connor was more or less a periphery sort of character, and you had the character of Marcus Wright being in the role. The main role, I mean to say. But when Bale signed on, his presence was beefed up significantly. But it still wasn't what I wanted to see. But like I said, going back to the positives, the action in this movie is pretty damn good, and that is, once again, most of the part, it is practical. These are people, these are vehicles, these are real explosions blowing the shit up, it is really good. Like, I don't care what you say about the rest of the movie, but the pedigree of action in this movie is rather well done. This doesn't rely on crappy shaky cam just to give you the impression of violence. You are seeing a broad scale expression of chaos and everything like that, and it works. almost every single action scene in this movie works really, really well. It looks great, it's choreographed beautifully, and it is just impressive. So, that being said, the story of Terminator Salvation is my lead gripe, mainly because it focuses on the character of Marcus Wright, played by Sam Worthington. Look, Sam Worthington is not a bad actor, alright? I have seen him in Australian films that have more independent roots, and he's quite good. But bankable Hollywood lead? No, I don't think so. And the fact this movie focuses more on Marcus Wright as opposed to John Connor. I wanted to see more John Connor in this movie. I wanted to see him move up the ranks, make an impression, and become the legend that he was to be. I wanted him to have a more front and centre role here, rather than some guy who has an admittedly ambiguous past, but the fault really does remain in how the movie chooses to lens its character, how it chooses to focus on the character of Marcus Wright rather than in John Connor. And John Connor is a character that has been built up over like 2 or so movies. You had Edward Furlong playing him, and then you had Nick Stahl, and say what you will about some of the lesser aspects of the character, you were still seeing the DNA of a prominent figure in the law take place. So imagine what this film would have been like if this was about John Connor and not about Marcus Wright. You would have become far more familiar with John himself and the struggles that he's facing, and the fact he's somewhat starting to doubt himself, as well as the progression of the war. He's not sure if humanity can still win here. And I don't know, I still feel that the focus put on Marcus here is completely misguided. Well, not necessarily completely misguided, but I'm just not as interested in Marcus Wright. And the plot contrivances in this movie, like putting Marcus Wright into the front and centre role, I still can't exactly accept. And stupidly enough, I don't know what mental genius came up with the idea of giving away the twist of Marcus Wright in the bloody trailer. He's an infiltrator unit! He's been brainwashed by Skynet into thinking he's human, when in reality he has been modified by the machines to act as an infiltrator unit in order to assassinate John Connor. But that's not the boneheaded part about this scheme. The entire plan to assassinate John Connor doesn't fall down onto Marcus Wright. It is a really contrived, incredibly ridiculous, I don't know how the hell Skynet figured this out sort of thing. When in reality, assassinating John Connor should not have been as, drawn out and long and, dumb as this. The entire plan is completely long-winded, and I'll try to post a step-by-step sort of thing about how this thing went down, but it's just artificial intelligence. Yeah, right. But truth be told, all these technical issues and story issues aside, I still do like Terminator Salvation. I don't think that, I think there's still plenty of room for improvement here, but just facing it on an individual aspect, it's not as offensive as people think. And I also do like the other actors in this movie, specifically Anton Yelchin as the very young Kyle Reese, who I don't know how is able to be, fit into this movie. If you are intimately familiar with the Terminator timeline, this whole thing about Kyle being this age really doesn't quite add up here. But I still like Yelchin's performance, and he does do a perfectly valid attempt at a young Michael Biehn. He has this look on his face, and the way he sort of lowers his voice and makes it ragged. Yelchin is a very talented actor, there's no doubt about that, and I don't feel he is actually being wasted in this movie. Yeah, this this one's a bit of a polarizer, I'll give you that. But it all comes back down to how much you are willing to accept on a personal level. I don't have any major attachments with the Terminator franchise, but that doesn't mean that I can't enjoy it and find a certain sense of personal appeal about it. But there's no major underlining factor in terms of message in this movie. Yes, you still have the fact that Marcus Wright essentially is a figure of sacrifice. His final act of bravery is to save John Connor. But unlike Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, there's no overriding sense of purpose here. A lot of it is done in the name of the moment. And as an action movie, it succeeds. I also loved seeing the different Terminator types. You have the highway patrol motorcycles, you have the great big, capture devices that masquerades itself as a building, aerial units, water units. If anything else, like, McG really knew how to expand on the aesthetics of this world that's come to be. It's just... Look what this movie does to me, man. Look what it does. But going back to brass tacks here, I don't feel Terminator Salvation is nearly as repugnant as it's being exaggerated to be. And it all comes back down to how much you are willing to go along with it. So, yeah. Christian Bale, we know he's a great actor, but most of the movie has him either talking really softly or yelling or something like that. There was no real nuance with the character of John Connor here, and I still felt there could have been more done for him. Same thing is with Kate Connor, aka Kate Brewster from Terminator 3, played by Bryce Dallas Howard. She's perfectly likeable, and she has a sense of quiet maternal strength about her. But it would have been nice if this movie had focused more on the Connors and less on Wright. And for the love of God, John Connor goes on what is essentially a suicide mission into the bowels of Skynet to shut it down completely forever. And he gives his wife a simple little chase peck on the mouth. Not a full-on tongue. Tongue that woman, you're never gonna see her again! But that's just silly. So, all deconstructed here, I give Terminator Salvation a... You know what? I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 5. You can say what you like about me, you can throw as many, rolls of toilet paper and eggs and tar and feather me, but first impressions on this movie was rather favourable, and on subsequent rewatches, I still can't see anything truly terrible about this movie. And in a sense, I feel that McG more or less was competent. I mean, his handling of the production left up something to be desired, of course. But if you can just look at the product on the screen and just accept it for what it is, Terminator Salvation really isn't that bad. So on that note, I better go into hiding. Okay guys, you take care of yourselves and each other, and thank you once again for listening. Bye bye for now.